Hi, dear astrologer from belladeveraofficial.wordpress.com, and I wanted to make a video about synastry and composite charts. Um, so when a professional astrologer like myself looks at synastry and composite charts, we really need to look at the natal charts also, because there's so much in synastry and composite charts that it doesn't make sense not to know about the individual people. So synastry is when you take a birth chart of one person and another person, you lay them on top of each other, and you see the planets and houses, for one thing, how they interact with each other. And that is such a very important thing to know about synastry. And you either can, in your head, do, the calculations for the synastry aspects between the two people, like your planet or ascendant sign or the angle house or whatever, any planet, especially the personal planets, and also definitely Jupiter and Saturn, and the outer planets, Neptune, or Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they all matter. Like your planet, like your sun sign and someone else's sun sign, or sun and moon, or sun and Pluto, or whatever. You look at the zodiac sign and the degree, and you see what aspect it makes to each other. That's the everyday relating to each other on a day-to-day basis, how you get along. It shows like Saturn synastry, and it's glue for the relationship, like long term or not, if it's in that, if Saturn's in your synastry, it shows, like, how you get along and how you relate to each other on a day-to-day basis. And there's so much in synastry, and like good and bad aspects, or difficult and easy, or getting along and tension, or stuff like that, or getting along and fighting. There's always a balance of is some both of those. And if you don't have like a moon aspect or something else can make up for it, maybe, where there's Venus and Mars. If you don't have so much of Venus and Mars context, then Pluto, Uranus, or Mars and the Sun can make up for it, where it's not, like, it doesn't kill your relationship. The synastry part of it. It's very important to know about, like, if I'm doing two people's relating to each other, I always look at the synastry and composite chart, or Davidson is similar to the composite. I look at the composite just because, whatever, but they're very similar. And I never just look at one, because that's not going to tell you the whole big picture of the two people relating to each other. The synastry is the day-to-day relating, how you interact with each other, but the big picture of two people is the composite chart, or Davison, whatever. if you want to know the bigger picture, overall, bigger picture of two people, and not the day-to-day details, but the yeah, just I can't think of any other way to explain it. I like to think of different kinds of ways to explain it. But anyway, I'll explain more. But the bigger picture is the composite chart, and you have to look at that, or get an astrologer too, whatever. If you're only looking at the synastry, you're gonna miss the bigger picture. Like I said, you're gonna miss half of the story of two people, and it's so much different because the composite chart is the a birth chart of the relationship. The composite chart is the midpoint of the two birth charts together to make one chart for the couple, whether it's romantic or not, or friends or relatives. The two people is what I mean. The pair of the two people is what I mean. I don't mean romantic necessarily, because the composite chart is for any two people. Or if there's more relating, then you can do it for more people. But anyway, the composite chart is the midpoint of the planets in the birth charts relating to each other, the midpoint of the planets, and it's the bigger picture. It's like a birth chart for the whole relationship of the two people. One chart for the whole relationship, as one, like the two people. And how they're seen by everyone, what people see. Whenever you the synastry is more of like kind of like the details of the personal, like what the two people know about themselves. And you'll know stuff in the composite chart too, even though now I have to interrupt what I was saying. Some astrologers swear by saying that you can't tell what Saturn synastry you have, or you can't tell about a composite chart until, like, if you get in the middle of your relationship with the person, whatever kind that is, and you're in the middle of it and it keeps growing, that's when you can tell a composite chart, some astrologers say. But I do not agree, unless it's just my psychic ability somehow, which I do not believe. I have very, very strong psychic abilities. That's not all like the main four. It's two, basically. I say two of those. They're cognizant and sentient. And the point is, I have a lot of psychic abilities, and I don't think it's that. I'm just throwing this out there just as, something to think about. Unless it's some ridiculous thing like that I don't believe. You can tell what's in your composite chart right away. Like, some things early on. Even without meeting a person, if you have any kind of attachment with a person with your synastry and composite chart in any kind of way, relating, whether you've met in person or not, you can tell some things. And that's what I'm talking about the composite chart. It's the overall bigger picture of the two people. It's one, like, birth chart for the whole relationship. It's not the day-to-day relating, it's the whole bigger picture. And you can tell very, very early on. And whether you meet the person or not, or if you're going to at a later time, the composite chart can tell that a lot, sometimes, like certain aspects. And if you have an ongoing relating to each other, the more you relate to each other, the more the composite chart is noticeable in some ways because of certain aspects, because it tells what the overall bigger picture is. But you can tell some aspects early on, even if you're relating to each other over the internet or long distance, different countries, or, like some Uranus synastry is, long distance sometimes, where it takes a little bit of time to actually meet your, let's say, if it is a romantic relationship, you know, and it's traveling and, whatever, not always constantly seeing each other in person all the time. That is what Uranus synastry is about. And it can be for business or romantic relationships or whatever, Our friends, or you can have Uranus synastry in any kind of relating to people. Um, so you need to look at this synastry also, because that's so important to know about. I have my hair all. I have tons of hair. It's all in my hat because that was outside. I didn't want to be hot, so it keeps moving. So sorry, but anyway, um, the composite chart is, well, for one thing, it's like the fate of the relationship. I just wrote down something that I found on the internet about another astrologer or someone that is, um, is talking about composite charts. I just wanted to these certain words that describe it, because the way I described it before didn't have these words in it, but it's all the same thing. So the fate of a relationship, whatever kind it is in the composite chart more, because it's the bigger picture, and it is more of the deciding factor. I honestly believe this and agree with this. And it's kind of like what I was already trying to say. But anyway, in my astrology practice, I truly believe that. And I see it. It's not that I just believe it, it's that I see it, in studying astrology and doing, charts for people. So, anyway, if you want to know the fate of a relationship more, you don't look at the synastry, you don't look at like karma and synastry as much, because karma can turn into dharma and people can stay relating to each other. And synastry, even, if the karma ran out, you still can relate to each other, and it can turn into dharma then. But the composite chart is the actual real bigger picture fate of the relationship, and it's if you need a deciding factor in something, there are especially certain aspects. Now, whether it really does happen this way, because you can look at a composite chart for people and say, oh, they're gonna, whatever, and it doesn't always happen that way. But if there's any relating to each other, it can. But the fact the composite chart is the bigger picture deciding factor is the key to know. It is that way. There are certain aspects in composite charts that make it easier or more difficult to relate to each other. And it's not one aspect in the composite chart or century is not going to make or break any relating to anyone. You deciding that does, and somewhat Saturn maybe in synastry or in the composite chart even. It depends. I mean, there's certain composite charts that are like obviously like, the two people are, that's just not gonna work. Like you have to be realistic about it. But I'm just saying the composite chart is the bigger picture deciding factor and fate of a relationship. no matter what kind. And like, what is that one aspect? I wanted to tell you some examples of the composite chart. I'll do another video maybe about that. I definitely am going to actually. It's not that I might. I will. I will after I do this one actually. But that's the difference between synastry and composite charts. And for one thing, I personally, professionally, I will not tell you what to do in your relationships, no matter what kind it is. I can give my personal opinion in my head about stuff, and I do that, obviously, especially if I have attachments with people and relationships and whatever. But besides that, that's not what I'm talking about. My professional job, I will not tell you what to do. I do not do that. I will not ever. That's for you to decide with people. But I do tell you what's in the composite chart and synastry. And especially, like I said, the bigger picture of fate, deciding composite chart, and I do. So if you want me to professionally look at your composite charts with people, I do that. And I do, there's a video or two out there on YouTube in the astrology world about sitting on your high horse, like throne, and not wanting to do composite charts of people that are in affairs and such. And I do that for people because there's so many details of relationships and people's spiritual beliefs and religious beliefs are in it. And if I know the details of relationships, I will look at affair composite charts and synastry, and I don't necessarily know of composite charts I've looked at or synastry that are in the examples I could give you necessarily of this really happening, but I have heard of it without looking at people's composite charts happen. People die and break up and so forth, and my personal belief is that marriage is for two people, not, and I personally believe that divorce is wrong. And if two people have never been married before, get married, get a divorce, they're both still alive, they're still married. So the thing is, if the one has a relationship with someone else that's never been married, so it creates this new relationship. Then if the one is still married and the other is not, and then someone else comes along and you want to call that an affair or emotional affair, or could be, or it is one, or whatever type of scenario you want to call it, that's the kind of thing that I look at, because I believe that marriage is for two people, like I said, and divorce is wrong. I will never agree that divorce is right, ever, period. It just doesn't to me. And I'm not a religious person, but I have beliefs of certain things. Now, whether I follow every belief there is out there of what I know to be right is beside the point, because I don't. Because, whatever, like having sex before marriage, that kind of thing. That's just my own personal crap, and I don't give a crap what you think of it. And, you know, but that's also, in the set of beliefs there are that I know of to be right, whether I, do all of them or not the right way, whether or, um, whatever I actually know to be right is beside the point. But I do care about divorce and remarrying, and I don't believe it's right. Now, the original couple, if those two people that were originally married, if one dies, you're free to marry again. I believe that. So, if that second couple, if that happened and they were together, that's a different story. If they're happily together and no divorce is involved in it, and then another person comes along, that would be a different scenario. And I'd still do it for them if you're having an affair because there's astrology seshing composite charts and the universe bringing people together and reasons for it that I don't mean that you have to get in a relationship with everyone, but you know people for a reason in synastry and composite charts, and the universe brings people to you, and you attract people to you for so many reasons in synastry and composite charts that you need to know what's going on with you and people, and on a non-romantic level to begin with, to see why this interaction is happening. Now, if there are romantic things happening in some relating, that's why I would do composite charts and synastry for affairs because it's in there and it is for a reason sometimes. And I'm not saying everything is right to do or good, but it happens and you can work through it. Now, whether you work through it and break through it and stay together is a different story. And I'm not saying that affairs are right, but I'm saying it's in natal charts whether you're like that and it's something to work on. And micro cheating is a whole different subject too. And so you need to have an open mind of why this interaction is happening, whether it's romantic or not. And to begin with, I look at it as if it's not necessarily romantic. I look at it as interactions are supposed to happen with people. And then I look into the specific details of what's really going on with the people and why, and all the other details of, this, that, and the other thing, and whatever else. Like I said, there's different examples of relationships, and I need to know specific things sometimes about certain things to know, why you're interacting, what's going on, and if you should be doing this or that. That helps me be able to give you a little bit more details of your composite chart and how it can work for you, if you're truly interested in, sorting this out for yourself. You know, that's what astrologers are for, to help people, figure out the details of, what to do and not to do and, whatever. And especially in the composite chart, it's so important to look at the 12th house because if there's certain kinds of relating going on that can really end a relationship. Sometimes it doesn't all the time, but it can very likely. And some other kinds of, you know, placements and aspects can, you know, tell the fate of a relationship. And that's why I look at it first. Now, if you're full of shit and you like, are saying I'm having an affair with someone and you're truly not, or, if you're just obsessed with someone and you're not in a relationship, especially if there's certain kinds of uh, mental health things going on with you, which I'm not judging anyone for, but as a professional astrologer, I'm not going to play games with people if you're lying to me. And I can tell just like that if you are, because my moon is in Pisces and it's in the eighth house and all all the other things in my birth chart too that give me psychic abilities. I'm not going to play games with people, but if you're being adults about it and there's a situation going on with you that is for real, and it's not just a potential thing, or if it is and you're being serious and you actually want to interact with people, that's different. But the game playing, I'm not going to do that. I do not do that, and I won't do it for my personal life either with people. And I don't like when people give me a certain personality that I don't have because of their Pluto crap, and tell me I like game playing, because I don't. I look at astrology, synastry, and composite charts professionally, and I'm like brutally honest with myself and other people about it. And I take it very seriously of, like being honest about it. So I will not game play with you about that. But if there's true situations going on with you and people, and you need to know, if you want more guidance of what to do, I will look at your composite chart and synastry also and give you a little bit of guidance of what I see in the composite chart more, because that's, like I said, the fate of relationships more. But anyway, like I said, I will be doing another video on kind of like keys of relationships and composite charts, because there are more like key unlocking kind of aspects to look at that can say oh like that's what's going on, or it definitely can happen like that, or this, or definitely isn't going to certain aspects and placements that can really tell you more of that kind of thing. So I'll be doing another video just right after this one to tell you more about that, just about the composite chart. But anyway, so that's the difference between synastry and composite charts, and why I will look at specific situations going on if they're truly situations between adults, handling their relationships in an adult serious way, and really actually want professional guidance, especially in the composite chart from me. So anyway, if you want to, ask questions or leave comments, feel free. Now I have two websites. I'm putting my information on my one website. But for YouTube, I'm going to tell you the one, like I said, BellaDeVeraOfficial.wordpress.com. If you want to look at both of them, feel free. But because this is a new thing because of the different kinds of, things I'm doing in my profession. So, because this is a little bit of a bunny trail, but because I didn't know my North Node in Taurus, I still seeing how that is happening for me, and I don't know if I'll just be doing astrology, but I'm definitely doing astrology though. So that's why the two websites, or maybe three, we'll see what I need to do about that. But my astrology is on my other website. But I'm gonna keep this one that I originally had for my astrology to tell you that in my videos, that name, because I don't want to confuse people too much. So anyway, that's all for this video, and like I said, feel free to leave comments or questions or whatever, and so I'll be making tons more videos soon. So hope you found this helpful, and let me know if you did, or whatever. So I'll be doing that that astrology composite video just right after this one.